Chapter 1. The Awakening. James Monroe stirred in his sleep, the gentle hum of his apartment in San Francisco slowly fading into the background. He was a man of routine, a software designer at a reputable tech firm, living a life that was meticulously predictable. At 30, he valued the simplicity of his existence, preferring the solace of his private, uneventful life. His closest companions were his computer and the quiet hum of his apartment. But this morning was different. As he opened his eyes, the familiar ceiling of his apartment was gone. Instead, he was greeted by a rustic wooden ceiling, beams exposed, and sunlight streaming through the gaps in the curtains. Confusion washed over him as he sat up, the weight of unfamiliar sheets slipping off his body. James found himself in a spacious room, decorated with a blend of modern and rustic elements. The smell of fresh hay and the distant sound of cattle greeted his senses. He swung his legs over the edge of the bed, his feet touching a cool wooden floor. This was not San Francisco. "Morning, James," a warm voice called out. He turned to see a woman in her mid-50s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile, standing in the doorway. She carried a tray with breakfast eggs, bacon, and toast, accompanied by a steaming cup of coffee. James blinked, his mind racing. Who are you?" he stammered. The woman's smile faltered for a moment before she placed the tray on a nearby table. "It's me, Sarah. You kidding around?" She looked a little deeper. "Are you feeling all right, honey?" He shook his head, trying to piece together the fragments of his memory. The last thing he remembered was falling asleep in his apartment after a long day of coding. "Sarah, I'm sorry, but I'm a little confused." Sarah's expression turned to one of concern. "You must have had a rough night. Why don't you eat something? Maybe it will help clear your head." James nodded absently, his mind still in turmoil. He glanced around the room, noticing the photographs on the walls. One in particular caught his eye. A family portrait. There he was, standing beside Sarah, looking older, more rugged. Beside them were two young adults, a man and a woman, both with striking resemblances to him. His heart raced as he tried to reconcile the image with his reality. "James, are you sure you're okay?" Sarah asked again, her voice filled with concern. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. I think I just need some fresh air." Sarah nodded, her worry evident but not pressing further. "Take your time, I'll be in the kitchen if you need anything." James stepped outside, the screen door creaking as he pushed it open. The sight before him was a stark contrast to the bustling cityscape he was used to. Rolling hills, vast fields, and the distant mountains framed the horizon. He was on a ranch, a place he had never been before, yet everything seemed oddly familiar. He wandered through the property, his mind a whirlwind of confusion. As he walked, he noticed the details: the barn with weathered red paint, the corral where horses grazed, and the tractor parked beside a shed. Each element felt like a fragment of a puzzle he couldn't piece together. "Hey, Dad," a voice called out, snapping him back to the present. He turned to see the young man from the photograph jogging towards him. "Mom said you were acting weird this morning. Everything okay?" James studied the young man, searching for any hint of recognition. I'm just trying to clear my head." The young man chuckled. "Well, if you need any help with that, Jake and I are fixing the fence by the east pasture. Could use an extra pair of hands." James nodded slowly, trying to process the name. Jake, his son? The realization hit him like a tidal wave. "Sure, I'll join you in a bit." The young man clapped him on the shoulder. "Take your time, Dad." James watched him walk away, his mind grappling with the impossible situation. How could he have a son, and who was Jake? The questions swirled in his mind, creating a storm of confusion and disbelief. He spent the day in a daze, helping with the fence, interacting with people who knew him intimately but were strangers to him. Every moment felt surreal, as if he were living someone else's life. By the evening his mind was exhausted, the weight of the day pressing down on him. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. James found himself gradually adapting to the life on the ranch. The initial confusion and disbelief slowly gave way to acceptance. He immersed himself in the daily routines, the laborious tasks of maintaining the ranch, the joy of family dinners, and the warmth of Sarah's unwavering support. The memories of his life in San Francisco began to fade, replaced by the rich tapestry of experiences on the ranch. Years passed, and James watched his children grow, their achievements and challenges becoming the core of his existence. He celebrated anniversaries with Sarah, each year deepening their bond. The ranch prospered under his care, and the once unfamiliar surroundings became a cherished home. As the decades slipped by, James aged gracefully. He found contentment in the simplicity of rural life, the profound satisfaction of hard work, and the love of his family. His hair turned gray, and his movements slowed, but his heart remained full. One evening, as he sat on the porch, watching the sunset with Sarah by his side, he reflected on the extraordinary journey of his life. The man who had once been a solitary software designer in San Francisco was now a seasoned rancher, a loving husband, and a proud father and grandfather. "James," Sarah said softly, her hand resting on his, "are you happy?" He looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Yes, Sarah, I truly am." That night, as he lay in bed surrounded by the familiar sounds of the ranch, James felt an overwhelming sense of peace. He closed his eyes, surrendering to sleep. When he woke, he was back in his San Francisco apartment. The familiar hum of the city greeted him, the sunlight streaming through the windows. He sat up, his heart pounding. Had it all been a dream? The memories of the ranch were vivid, too real to dismiss. James rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of it all. Was he going insane? Or was there something more to these dreams? As he got ready for work, one thing was clear: his life would never be the same again.